Ah, children of the night, what music they make. Oh, hello. I am Dracula, multi-voice reviewer's arch nemesis and lord of the vampires. You know, Mr. Multi-voice reviewer, all he ever wanted is to beat me in any video game. I am his arch nemesis, so therefore we became enemies since he was alive. A long time ago, I existed from this book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And of course, he himself had paid attention to the original novel. And then when he was a little child, a little itty-bitty child, he was more fascinated to me ever since he saw this movie, Bela Lugosi's Dracula. In this one, Bela Lugosi, he's really from Romania, and that's why he did the undead voice of Dracula. So therefore, he was a good actor of playing Dracula, and that inspired him. And then all of a sudden, he wanted to defeat me in these video games that I've got here. I've got Castlevania for Nintendo, and it was created back in 1985, same year that our reviewer was born. And then the second game they made. In the first one, you play Simon Belmont, and on your mission, you have to go through Transylvania, battling against hordes of monsters in order to defeat the Lord of Vampires, me. But before you get to me, you have to defeat my right-hand man, who goes by the name of the Angel of Death, Grim Reaper himself, Death. And then after that, they made a sequel called Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2. But it wasn't exactly a good game, because in the game you play Simon, and all you have to do is trying to find remains of my body and put them together so you can finally defeat me once again. And then the third game came out. It was pretty good itself, called Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. In the game, it's a prequel, so you play Trevor Belmont, Simon's father. And of course, you start teaming up with 3 new characters. You team up with Grant the Nasty, Sophia the Witch, and of course, my son, part human, part vampire. His name is Alucard. And of course, everybody knows Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards. So that's my name. But unlike me, my son, he wants to be good. So he always tries to battle against me for a long time. And then after that, when Nintendo became Super Nintendo, this game came out, called Super Castlevania 5, and it's like a remake to the original video game. And of course, when Sega Genesis came out, this game was made, called Castlevania Bloodline. In this one, you play, it picks up after Bram Stoker Dracula left off, where you play, you either choose to be Eric from Spain, or John Morris, the son of Quincy Morris. And of course, they say in the story that Quincy Morris is another descendant of the Belmont family. And of course, you go through your entire journey. John wanted to defeat Dracula once again because it's in his blood, while Eric, on the other hand, his wife was murdered by a vampire. And the vampire is none other than Elizabeth Bathory, the notorious evil serial killer ever been known. I always love turning serial killers into vampires. It's like having an army of the undead. And then when Super Nintendo came about, these games were made. Castlevania 64. In the game, you play another descendant of Belmont, or you play a young little schoolgirl who tries to stop Dracula because she has a brother who is involved with Dracula. In this one, called Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, you play a guy named Carnell, who is a werewolf, and he uses his powers of turning into a wolf to defeat the monsters of darkness. And of course, when the movie Bram Stoker Dracula came out, they made these games for Sega Genesis and also Super Nintendo. And they also made it for the original Nintendo, but it was really crappy. And the Sega CD, let's just say that some of the scenes were cut off from the original movie. And if I want to watch the movie, I'll watch the movie instead of playing the game. And then PlayStation came about. And then there was 2 new Castlevania video games. It came out. One that Multi-Voice Reviewer will already have and loves it a lot, called Castlevania Symphony of the Night. In the game, you play another descendant of the Belmont family, and all you do is you defeat me from the beginning. And after I get defeated, you start noticing something's wrong. And all of a sudden you discover that I am back from the grave once again by a high evil priest, a monk who goes by the name of Shaft. And don't get me started with the song. And of course, in the game, you play my son, Alucard, who's trying to stop his father for his reign of evilness. What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. And then when PlayStation 2 came about, they made a movie. It was similar to Castlevania. Of course, some of you people don't like it, or some of you people do like it. And it's called Van Helsing. They made the video game after the movie, starring Hugh Jackman as the Monster Hunter. And here's a little hint. In this game, after you defeat one of Dracula's brides, there's a Castlevania hint into it, that when you go into the library and you hit the X button, sooner or later you're going to get a book. It talks about the family called Belmonts who has sworn to destroy me. And then all of a sudden, PlayStation 2 all of a sudden made these games. Castlevania, Limit of Innocence. And this one tells the origin of the Belmont family, named Leon. There's another vampire who is in charge, and he goes by the name of Walter Bernhardt, and he kidnaps Leon's wife named Sarah. So now Leon is going to his never-ending journey to get his beloved wife, Sarah, back. And as it turns out, his dear friend, Matthias Krongfist, had betrayed him. He wanted him to kill Walter Bernhardt because Matthias Krongfist is the real Dracula, and all he wanted was Walter's Crimson Stone. Spoiler alert, he wanted Walter's Crimson Stone so he will never be permanently dead. Always keep finding ways to return from the grave. And that's my part. And that's what I always do. You just can't keep me down, can you? And of course, there's another Castlevania. It was called Castlevania Curse of Darkness. In it, it picks up after Castlevania 3 left off. After Trevor defeated Dracula with 3 of his friends, now there's a man who goes by the name of Hector. And he is a Devil Forge Master. They're the kind of people who summon demons for assistance. And he vowed vengeance against Isaac, who he himself was a devil forge master as well. He killed Hector's wife, so therefore he wants vengeance on the death of his wife. And of course, almost at the end, Hector battles against me for betraying me and my army. I always hate it when I get stabbed in the back. And of course, oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. There's also that other Castlevania game it goes by the name of Castlevania Chronicles. And it's a remake to the original Castlevania game. And of course, the graphics were way better. And it's the rarest game ever made, so it's hard to find. Anyway, I get to you to let you know of this game. There is another game that they made for PlayStation 3. It's called Castlevania Lords of Shadow, and starring Patrick Stewart as the narrator and our hero's friend. In the game, you don't destroy me, Dracula. You destroy the devil himself, Satan. And in the game, after you defeated Satan, almost at the end of the credits, you start to discover that Gabriel Belmont here, it turns out that he was Dracula all along. So I was Gabriel Belmont from the beginning, and then I was Matthias Kronqvist, who betrayed another family member of mine. And now I heard that they made another Castlevania video game. It goes by the name of Castlevania Lords of Shadow Part 2. And in the game, you play Dracula. You play me. Now, I have to get out of here. If Multi-Voice Reviewer finds me, he will ram a stake through my heart. So, this is Count Dracula, telling you all good night. But one moment, please. Ah!